Good morning, traders. It's Friday, June 11th. My name is Charles, and this is the Pirate Traders live stream. Ba-dum-bum-bum. The Pirate Traders live stream. Ba-dum-bum-bum. It's Friday. Ba-dum-bum-bum. All right. Well, let's take a quick look at what happened yesterday. So yesterday we broke out of bounds. Just real quick, I'll mention my levels are all messed up here. You can see they don't correspond. That's because I switched over to the new contract, the U contract this morning. So yeah, the levels are way off here. You can see the low from yesterday is way up here when on the chart it shows down here. That's because there was just a little bit of differentiation in terms of price levels between where the two markets are at right now. So I'll go ahead and start fixing that once we get trading here this morning. Okay, so yesterday we broke above balance and then created a lot of volume up here in the higher area above balance. Our pullback in the M period barely dipped into yesterday's high and then found its way higher. Okay, so the overnight traded in the same exact range. You can see most of the time and volume was spent in this exact same area. So that just shows a little bit of uncertainty with the breakout, right? They don't think it failed, so they didn't pull it back anywhere, but they also didn't push it any higher. So they just weren't sure. There's some economic numbers coming out this morning and important little pieces of data. So they may have just been kind of stepping aside for the evening and letting the market kind of just churn while they waited for that new data. Okay, so we're going to open today inside of yesterday's range. That increases the odds that the market is just going to chop this morning, just going to grind up and down. Value was overlapping to higher yesterday, so that means that we're likely to either go higher today or sideways. It decreases the likelihood that we're going to have a major sell-off here today. Any initial selling that takes place early on in the morning could look for support in this node of volume from yesterday, particularly the lower end where the closing was and the opening of the overnight, right around this 42.28 level. Just kind of keep that in mind. That could be really good support there. Other than that, not much to report, right? We pretty much just got to wait for the market open, let it grind around, let it go through that chop that it often goes through when it opens inside the previous day's range. And then, there's really, the overnight inventory isn't that long, so we could expect a small counter auction to that overnight inventory. But then you got all that support right below, so it probably doesn't have far to go. So going to let the market chop and work itself out, and then look for entries based on whatever information I get. Okay? Not super helpful first thing in the morning, but I'll keep you posted as I get more insights here. Okay, so we're getting that counter auction as soon as the market opens this morning. So once again, they can find support in this node of volume right below us here. That's in between, say, 42.31 and 42.27. If you guys are wondering, I'm only going to go back and change the lows of the last 2 days and the high of yesterday in terms of making adjustments for this. The rest of the profile references, I'm going to leave at the levels that they were at in the previous contract, just because that's where those levels were at that time. right. Well, good morning, man. We got a chat that's fired up this morning, but not like buttons. The chat's in the mood to chat, but the likes aren't in the mood to like. Good morning, RK Leon. First one in the chat. Good to see you. Welcome. Bull Bear Rider is with us. Good morning to you. Naif is here. Good to see you, brother. Bobo is with us. Welcome, my friend. We are still at ES 621, right? No, I've moved on to the next contract. Marco, good morning to you. Nathan, good morning. Revolution, good to see you. Oh, a second follower from Australia. Good day, mate. Stanley, good morning to you. Jose is here. Good to see you. Nor Auto Trading with us. Welcome. RK is here. News Blip. Philip, good to see you guys. Leighton back with us. Good morning to you. Pavel is here. Good morning to you. Shane and Arthur is with us. Great to see you guys. Happy Friday. And Parlin gave me that like. Thank you, brother. Rob is here. Good morning to you. All right, guys. Well, it's Friday, so let's make some money. Let's call it Green P&L Friday. Partha, great observation. Right out the gate. One tick from the halfback on the overnight. This is probably, again, we're just going to get chop here early in the morning. So I suspect we're going to push to the high again, and then we'll push to the low again, and we'll kind of just churn up and down through this area for the first few minutes here today. Boom. It's the Profit No Loss Friday. Every trade goes green and makes us money. Okay, market internals opening bullish. Partha, I think June goes on for another week, if I remember correctly. But don't forget, you can literally pick a price level, right? So you could say, 42.38. Go in right now, put a order to, close your say you're long and you're in a contract. You just put your contract to close at 42.38 on that contract, and then put a buy order in on the other one at the exact same level, and then it can just kind of, get out of one, get into the other kind of thing. Element with us. You from the UK, Element? Calling us lads. Spot of tea, lads. Yeah, let's take a look at the NQ. Damn, looks funky without any volume. All right, NQ overnight more bullish. I mean, which has been the case, right? This whole push higher has been stronger in the NQ consistently than it has been in the ES over the last few weeks. So they're overnight once again stronger as they explored higher prices, but they're not at their all-time highs either, so they've got a lot more room to the upside. Okay, looks like your A period high is poor this morning because it's one tick from the high of yesterday. Correct. So you're starting off the morning with a poor high. That's going to increase the odds that the market needs to push away from that poor high, but that at some point throughout the day it will come back and repair it. You got support in this node of volume that you kind of pushed down into earlier in the A period here. You got support right there. The lower end of that being 13,926. Okay. If that fails to act as support, the next support will be halfback at 13,880. Also some potential resistance above once you repair the poor high in this prominent POC from overnight. Could get some resistance in there. But if you're able to push through that level, come back down and find support, that would be a very good long trade for continuation higher. Back to the ES. Element. Okay, so spot of tea was not the appropriate. Pass me the beer. Pass me your beer or whatever. That was the more appropriate term. Gotcha. All right, so currently the NQ is finding support on its 20 moving average. It still counts as support if the wick dips below. So that's a bullish sign right there. Market internals are pulling back a little bit, but they're staying bullish thus far. Good taper on the low here in the ES. Doesn't mean this is the low of the day, but that it could be. If it were, it would be a good low. Charles, why are you looking at taper so early in the morning if we're going to have chop for the first half an hour to hour of the day? Why do you even care about taper? This to me is just a very nice looking taper. Let me get my drawing tool up here. So obviously what we're looking for in taper is the volume to fall off like this. But what I like is the fact that it's happening exactly where the volume would build from yesterday. Okay, so that's a good sign that this area here, this node of volume, will hold as support today. Let's wait and see. Kathy, no. Taper is essentially the the amount of contracts at a high or a low slowly fading off, right? You want, I would say usually the best scenario is the last four go in order to lower numbers, right? So this one's got, let me zoom right in there for you. This one's got 1800, 800, 500, 100, right? So it just kind of, it came to a good end. That's a good end in the auction process. If you don't have that, if it were, for example, 1800, 800, and then like 2000 right there, and then 100, that would be bad taper. And that would just increase the odds that the market needs to come back down here and do a little more trade, right? So having good taper doesn't necessarily increase the odds that it's a good low. It just doesn't add that negative pressure, right? It just means that it doesn't mean that the market needs to come down and repair it. It could be a good low. Whereas a poor low, which this is not, but if it were, what a poor low differentiates is that the market almost always has to come down and repair it. So good taper, all it really means is that the market doesn't have to come back down here. But it could. It doesn't change the probability that it will. It's not a matter of Parth, to answer your question. It's not a matter of low volume setting up a high or a low. It's a low volume showing you that there was a high or a low, right? It's showing you that the two-way auction process has come to an end, right? Let's take a look at like yesterday over here. Down here where there was lots of volume, there were people that were, the reason there's lots of volume is because there were people that were going long and there were people that were going short, right? Some people were looking at the market at this price level and they were thinking it was going to go higher, and some were thinking it was going to go lower. And so we create all this volume because they're betting against each other. They're buying and selling from each other, back and forth, back and forth. But when we got up to these levels up here, right, we ran out of buyers. Nobody wanted to do business up here, and we can literally watch it happen. There were 10,000 people here, 900, 800, 700, 600, 200, 176, right? You can literally watch the appetite of the market to go long at these levels becoming less and less and less. There's just nobody that wants to buy up here. And so when you get the volume fading off slowly like this, it's just showing you that there's less appetite for business long up here. And so the market needs to pull back down into here where people wanted to go long and do business here. This is where two-sided trade takes place. And so the market is constantly moving from place to place where two-sided trade can take place. Okay, so once again, I'm still feeling neutral because of the chop here this morning, but it's a bullish to neutral feeling. I think we're building up support here for a push higher. The confirmation will be getting above yesterday's high and then pulling back down and finding support. Okay. Okay, I am looking at support in this node as potentially buyable. We'll see how the market reacts to the 20 moving average here and how the ticks react when we get down into this node of volume here. But I do think we find support for the market somewhere in here. If there's anyone who's watching here today who's new to the channel, welcome to you. Give some consideration to the idea of hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell just below the video there. I have been slowly but surely building this channel over the last year, and I'm targeting 1,000 subscribers because at that point I'm able to monetize and start making some money for all the hard work that I do. So if you guys felt it in your hearts to push that subscribe button, not only could you stay informed with what's going on with the channel, but you could support the efforts that we're doing here, and it would be greatly appreciated. You the man, Nick. Thank you. First sub, brother. Welcome. Design enough. Yeah, I haven't quite put that in. All right. Well, we probably still have a little further to pull back here, but I like the way it's happening. Feels bullish to me. Hey, Lamon, second subscriber. Thank you, brother. Welcome to the community. Uh, yeah, John, you know me. I'm never gonna put the word always in front of a statement about the market. But yeah, that is pretty common that sometimes Fridays are a little more muted. But that being said, it's normal to have chop for the first hour or two of the day when you open inside the previous day's range and the overnight was in the previous day's range. It's just a sign that the market hasn't quite made a decision of where it wants to go next. So at these moments, while we're bored and watching it grind around, we're trying to ask ourselves, what is it doing? Right? We know it's building up for something here. It's just building up steam, building up momentum. More and more participants are taking a position one way or the other. Um, and so the question that you ask yourself in these times is like, well, what is it setting up for? Not what is it doing right now, but what's it setting itself up to do later in the day? To me, it seems like it's looking to find support in this node of volume and attempt to break out to new all time highs. Of course, I'm open to the market giving me new information that tells me that that thesis is wrong at any moment. I reserve the right to change my opinion as soon as I finish talking. RK Leon. Yeah, well, that's a pretty common reaction. There's a lot of that going on these days. Yeah, Naif, I completely agree with that. It's something that Mark Douglas talks about in Trading in the Zone. It's really, really important that you have a narrative that goes against your idea, right? You always have to be open to the market doing the exact opposite of what you think it's going to do. Because if you're not, if you think, oh, the market has to find support here at the POC from yesterday, you're looking at that 15 moving average, you're looking at that POC, and you're thinking market comes down here, finds support, and starts to trade higher. If you think about it like, oh, that's the only thing that could happen, you enter your trade right there, and then it goes against you, your subconscious brain will learn a lesson from that. It will take new programming from that, and it will say, don't trust the 15 moving average, don't trust the POC. It'll start to tell you not to trust the signals that give you winning trades because this one time it just so happened to not work out. You know what I mean? So you must always be open to the market from its perspective and be open to anything happening. That's another reason why you'll notice when I talk about things in the market, I always refer to them as it could. I always say like the market could find support here. I never say the market will find support here. And that might seem like it's just a random little difference between saying it will find support and it could find support. But the difference is if I'm wrong, my subconscious doesn't need to question it. It goes, well, he said it could and it didn't. So, oh, well, but that means it still could the next time. Right? The probability is still there, even if this time it didn't work out. So yeah, very, very important that you always consider the opposite of whatever you think is going to happen. And the nice thing about that is you get to be right no matter what. If you said to yourself, the market might not find support here, it might sell right through. If you had that as an option in your mind and that happens, sure, you may get stopped out on the trade, but you were still right. So you can still feel confident in your ability to read markets, and then it won't stop you from having weaker hands the next time you have to enter a trade. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so the market is technically one time framing down here. But as we've talked about recently, I'm no longer paying attention to the one-time framing. I'm still paying attention to it, but I'm just not putting as much weight on it in the first hour of the day. It's been very common lately that we get a push one direction for the first hour, and then in the C period, it reverses and goes the other way the rest of the day. So for me to really worry about this one-time framing and to be afraid to fight it, I would need to see it continue into the C period. Arthur, nope, still feeling bullish. Market is still doing exactly what I thought it would do. Every time it starts to trade down into this volume, it finds support and it pushes right back up. So like I said, they may need to come down in here and do a bit of battle, but who do I think is going to win that fight? I think the long. The long trade will win once we start to do battle in this node of volume. If it was going to lose, it would have lost in the overnight. I also think this 15 moving average is going to be our friend today on the long side. I think we'll find support here. Brian, I would say that exact scenario happening, probably very rare. Jim Dalton would call that overlooking, looking too hard. Element. You don't have to go to sleep, bro. Could be exciting. Get long and then see what happens. That's great. Uh, Partha, can it still be counted as a counter auction to the overnight inventory being long? Um, yeah, I guess technically you could look at it that way. I would usually think most of the time true counter auctions happen in the first like half an hour of the day. Um, but yeah, you could make that argument. Okay, so that 20 is not holding at the moment. Looks like we're pushing through. So remember I said, my narrative when we were up here was that we would find support in this node of volume over here to the left, but that if I was wrong and new information started to present itself, I would just change my mind. So we're starting to get some of that, right? The internals are trending down. We're now below the zero line in the ticks and continuing to push. So I'm still not bearish yet, but these are the first little indications that, oh, maybe you're wrong. Maybe the market won't find support here. Brandon, thank you for the sub, brother. Welcome to the community. All right, so I'm switching the card down here, but I am still bullish. Okay, don't lose sight of the fact that I am bullish that this market will find support. I would start to change my narrative and get more neutral or more uncertain If the market got below the opening price that the overnight opened at, down here at 4227.50, okay? And then if it got below that overnight low, I'd get actually bearish and be looking for a short trade for further downside continuation. But I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think we're going to find support. How's the volume looking at the bottom here? Yeah, we're starting to bring in some activity down here at the low, putting in a bit of volume. It's acceptable taper, but not great taper. 3,000, 1,300. But then you got a slightly smaller number above. So you'd like to see that sort of taper off a bit more. But notice where the low found support. This is the kind of little nuances that give you like a heads up. Where did it find support? Right at that lower level of volume. So like I said, getting below this, getting below the overnight's opening price, that gets me neutral to like, oh boy, maybe this isn't going to work. And then getting below this low is like, oh no, we need to go much lower to bring in more buyers. But right now it's acting as I would want it to. I'd like to get those ticks back above the zero line. And we're kind of bumping up against it. But other than that, this looks like the beginning of support. Ooh, NQ, poor high. Second one of the day, right? Didn't I mention a poor high this morning where they were just one tick above yesterday's high or one tick below? Second poor high of the day. It's a sign that it's short-term traders trying to short it at the highs. Obviously, this market much stronger than the ES as it is one time framing higher, whilst the ES is one time framing lower. Okay, and so now I don't even need to worry about this anymore. I've got my new signal, right? Market gets down here 2 ticks below the B period, and I know the one time framing is continuing. And so then I walk away from my narrative of bullishness and I look for a new narrative. All right, guys. Well, that is it for the YouTube live streaming this week. It's been such a pleasure having you all with me. I look forward to seeing you here on Monday. If you do want to stay with the stream the rest of the day, go ahead and grab that link in the description. Head on over to piratetraders.io and sign up for the brigade. $10 a month. It's the deal of a lifetime. We'll see you all there, and have a great weekend. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.